Welcome students to Session Zero University. My name is Professor Rainier, one of the many teachers here at the university, but for right now, I am your orientation representative. Here at SCU, you will find a variety of professors well-versed in the realms of tabletop role-playing games, offering you their insight on every facet of TTRPGs. Perhaps you'd like to take a homebrewing class with our potions professor, or join in on a role-playing class put on by our theater department. Be sure to take all your required general education classes like Character Creation 101, Intro to World Building, and NPC Voices for Beginners to help round out your education. There are also plenty of electives and intramural opportunities to add some fun and diversity into your everyday schedule. So get out there and learn. Whether you're hoping to graduate with a degree in DMing or playing It Matters Not, there's always room to grow at Session Zero University.
Alrighty, welcome class. My name is Joseph-Lyon. I am the co-CEO of Campaign Casters, a high fantasy TTRPG podcast designed to introduce you to your fictional home away from home. And I'm super excited to be talking about how to build your own class in D&D. That's one of my number one things that I've been invited to come here and talk about today, so I'm super excited to talk about this.
Yeah, we're super excited to have you. Skylar here. Obviously, you guys know me, so you don't have to, I don't need to give a whole explanation, but Haven, super excited to have you here to share with us so much awesome information about the idea of making your own D&D class. Like that, it's a lot of work. It's, it's a big undertaking, right? There's so many different features and so many different like level progressions that you have to really work into and play test, I'm sure. And we're going to get into a lot of that here
Absolutely.
In a moment. So awesome. So of course, you already mentioned kind of what you do in the TTRPG space. Is there anything else you wanted to intro before we kind of jump in?
Just so people understand who I am kind of in this space, I personally have been playing D&D for 15 years of my life, even though I'm pretty young. I DM'd for 10 of those years because that's one of my more of my passions with the craft itself. And I'm a big anime, superhero, and everything nerd.
Same here.
Exactly.
Same here. I am right there with you. Awesome. And then I know I mentioned this in the email I sent, but I kind of went snooping around and I noticed that you also like co-authored a series of books too.
I co-authored the Gemini series. The first book is called The Gemini and the Treasure Codex. The second, The Gemini and the Ruby Spyglass. It's actually supposed to be a quintology. We have the other three completely like written, but we haven't had time to like publish it and everything like that. So that's with my dad, Weston Lyon, as well as my stepmom, Jenny Butterfield. And we kind of did that during COVID. And that was our little pet project. And then we published it and everything because my dad owns a publishing company. So.
Oh, very cool. Okay, so that's so awesome.
Yeah,
that's one of those things that, you hear a lot of people talk about like, oh, one of these days I'm gonna write a book and I'll get it published. And like you actually did it, which is really cool to see.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
It was one of my dreams, and I always wanted to make a fictional. I obviously we're storytellers. I love storytelling. So that was one of the ways that we did it. We made a completely steampunk pirate book series.
Nice.
Yeah,
that is such a good combination.
Yeah, thanks.
We've been doing a little bit of steampunk stuff in our current D&D session that we're posting episodes on, but not pirates yet. Actually, I think what's coming next, I guess that's a little bit of a spoiler, is pirates. So we'll see if we can intermix those two things.
Yeah, well, if you need
I'll
any
definitely
tips.
have to. Yes, I was just gonna say, if I need inspiration, I'm going straight to the Gemini series.
Sounds perfect.
Fantastic. All right, so we're talking D&D class, making your own. Now, I personally have never jumped into making my own D&D class. I've had ideas. I know actually one of the guys in our group, Cameron, for his campaign, which is the pirate one that I was mentioning, he's working on kind of pushing some ideas around and play testing a little bit with something that he's working on as far as a homebrew class. So, but with that being said, obviously you actually successfully did it. What sparked your initial idea? What kind of made you think to yourself, I want to make what currently exists isn't what I want to do. I want to make my own. What kind of drew that course for you.
Yeah, so I first want to say that it wasn't just me. It was actually me and my co-owner of Campaign Casters, Nick Bailey. He's my roommate. He's currently out at drill because he is doing his own sort of stuff out there. And he's gone for the next 3 months. But so I'm the only half that gets to be here. So Nick and I have been roommates actually for the past like 4 years, I think. And we wanted to create this podcast, and therefore the podcast actually kind of formed due to a failure of a podcast. And then we got into, okay, how do we make this world, that sort of stuff. And I know you've talked about world building, but the thing that really like brought it together for us was we wanted a class that could. I'm a big improv fan personally. I grew up with improv comedy and everything like that. I started in middle school. That was my own whole thing. And Nick and I were talking, and we wanted a system that wasn't like looking at spell casting and things like that. There is written things, and you have to stay within the confines of certain rules, which is understandable. Every game needs something like that to run and to actually work, right? But what we saw a lot of the time was D&D, unless you have people like at our table that are like super into role-playing and like getting out of their shells, it's really hard to not be confined by those rules.
Yeah.
So we wanted to create a class that could improvise with the player and their creativity at the same time. And that therefore created the Runecaster.
Nice.
This class that could change based off of how the person that was owning it wanted to change it, with things such as prepared runes, like normal spells where you have them written out and they tell you exactly how to do it in case you can't function without those rules, but also with its own improvised rune system where we give you a detailed layout of, hey, you just need these 3 things. As long as you stay within these confines and your DM is okay with it, it functions. And it's something that will transform as you want it to transform.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's sort of got an ever-changing element to it.
Yes, and that's the whole goal. It's so that every time you play, it's never the same. It has the same general rule basics, but you can build upon that to make it your own and more unique.
Which is always, kind of the key thing, right? We always want to have like a really unique character.
Exactly.
And so to have a class that can match that energy is super cool.
Thank you.
If you had to summarize the Runecaster and like the concept behind it within like a couple sentences or a paragraph, how would you define what it kind of the features and what it does and how it works?
Yeah. Okay. So, and I think we're going to talk about this at some point. Picture the anime Full Metal Alchemist, how they're able to take all of these things, the world around them, and interact with it and allow magic itself to flow through the world and not the person. There's always a payoff that has to be made with those sort of things. And my roommate Nick took a lot of inspiration from The Owl House, which is a phenomenal cartoon, and I actually watched it just for this interview. So I could speak from his perspective on that.
Awesome.
And in that show especially, they even show written sigils and symbols that they use to activate magic around the world rather than somebody sitting down and creating incantations with words. They rather draw it into different symbols that then come to life upon pressing it in that show. But it's taking those 2 sort of concepts of something that's taken from the world itself and writing things down on pieces of paper or just onto objects to automatically cast spells, or in this case, runes, just on the fly in something that allows you to continually move and continually not be stuck due to a rule placement.
Right. And like sitting there thinking like, well, here's the spells that I have.
Yes.
Nothing here is really like quite fit for this situation.
Yes. And
this kind of dodges that idea that anything can be made on the spot, on the fly, like you said, for any given situation.
Exactly. And like even once you've already created an improvised rune, we've kind of have it in our rules that once you've said an improvised rune, you can then make it a prepared one. So like one of the ones that's written out. So then afterward, if you want to use that same ability, you can sit down with your DM and look over the rules and actually make it a prepared one instead of having to come up with it on the fly every single time.
Got it. Because again, I mean, the way that it works is so like vast and so
Yes.
never the same, I guess you could say, right?
Yeah.
So then the idea that like I want to go to my DM afterwards and he's like, hey, what you just cast back there, that was really cool. Like, and you're like,
Yes.
yeah, absolutely, I want to do that more often.
Exactly. And it allows for the player and the DM to find a way to make something that's balanced. If something was like, oh, this is a rule of cool moment, you can totally do that. But in the future, you're not doing that ever again. Like stuff like that.
Yep, exactly. Awesome. So in addition to sort of this idea of casting on the fly and creating these customized spells, you also talked about how there was some new like element and damage types in the class.
Yes.
What kind of stuff went into that, or what would we see if we looked at the Runecaster class?
Yeah, actually, I'm pulling it up right here just so I tell you the exact elements exactly.
Right.
So I have my understanding is you guys actually did a legend. No, I almost said Legend of Evantress. Last Airbender.
Yeah, Avatar Legends.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. So we kind of like all of there's so many shows that tap into like the natural elements such as fire, water,
Yes.
earth, air, lightning, thunder, that sort of stuff. And we have a couple of those in D&D already, but the things we personally felt like we were missing is things like shadow, something that's not necrotic, but like has the ability to darken areas, slip into the shadow plane, conjure beings. We think shadow is more of a conjuration thing.
Very much so.
Ether, the ability to manipulate space of objects and beings. Vitality, the ability to heal and cure disease. Personally, something that's never sat right with me in D&D, and I love D&D. I stand by it, so don't think I'm a hater. But traditionally, Healing Word and Cure Wounds are evocation spells. They're element spells. But what element do they fall under? I mean, like, life is a thing, but that's not really an element if you really think about it. It's an amalgamation of a bunch of these different things. So he created Vitality, this thing that has its own natural essence.
It's like life force in a sense.
Exactly.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah, so we have those things. I think those are a couple of the ones we added. Earth is another one. The ability to restrain or fortify natural substances in creatures. Because bludgeoning is a thing, yeah, but it didn't feel right that Earth was only brought down into just bludgeoning, because I feel like it could do so much more than that.
Absolutely.
And that also gives our players flair abilities to be like, hey, like it, instead of it becoming like a wall or like a big ass hammer that slams down on you, it now can be earth that juts up through the ground and sticks up into a creature. Like that's, and it's not piercing, but it's earth damage.
Right.
And you can swing it flavor wise then.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not limited to whatever the damage type would theoretically be depending on the form that it takes.
Exactly.
It's its own thing so that you can do anything with it.
Exactly.
Which is really cool. And I like that you mentioned the Avatar: The Last Airbender, because I can definitely picture that.
Yes.
And it's sort of that exact concept that, you know, they're out there using their earthbending to build houses or to grab somebody's feet, you know, from the ground or just 100 different other things. And so, yeah, it doesn't really make sense to just limit that to the already predefined sort of physical damage types of D&D.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Okay, very cool. And just to clarify, you have, was it one player, I think, currently in your guys' stuff that's playing this?
Currently we have we made a separate race for this player. They're a Spriggan, which is taken from Norse mythology, and that so pretty much just like a tree ant person, but they're very tiny. They're like 3 foot. Very
sort of like little teenage Groot.
Exactly. That's kind of like we took we like to take a lot of inspiration from a bunch of different media.
Absolutely.
And our player Sophia, she plays Lycan, this character, and she even flavors all of her runes to be based off of being a tree person. So like there's she has Sap Portal, which is kind of similar to Misty Step in a sense, but it creates a portal of sap on the ground that she then goes through and pops out of another portal on the other side and is like actually covered in resin and stuff like that. She has this I can't remember the exact name for it, but it's basically called like brain rot, where I think it's
Oh,
called brainstem, where basically she shoots a root into the ground and the root pops up and hits into the back of the brain of a creature, and they have to make
nice.
a save, and if they fail, they're like stunned in certain ways where they can't use all their abilities because their brain's trying to like refunction itself out of this like
Whoa.
myconid sort of mushroom
Yeah.
disease.
Ooh, it's kind of gritty.
Yeah, we get
Nice.
dark
Very
in
cool.
there.
But that's cool. And it opens up that creative opportunity. So it's not just I cast Eldritch Blast every turn. It's I'm casting all these different like
Exactly.
crazy things you've never heard of before.
Exactly.
Or things that maybe you've like you get it, you get where it comes from, but again, like you had said, it's flavored differently.
Yes, and it's it's something you see in a TV show, and you're like, I've always
Oh
wanted to
yeah.
do that with a character. How do I do
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
Bam,
Absolutely.
there you go.
Absolutely. Boom. There's bloodbending.
Exactly.
Awesome. So let's look at the process then. All right.
Yeah.
So you're creating a new class, massive undertaking. What was kind of like the step-by-step process that you went through with the Runecaster to kind of bring it to life?
That is a phenomenal question.
Yeah, where do you even start?
Yeah, that itself is a great question. So generally, we start like I said before, we started with these different shows that we had these ideas from. We wanted to create this ever-evolving system. So then how do we do that? Well, of course, we have to make something similar to what people know so that they're not completely thrown out of their subconscious concept of what D&D is, right? So
Right.
then we started looking at things like fighters and warlocks and wizards, and okay, what levels are they getting new features and abilities with? So we created
Right.
these things called runic practitioner features, which is just a jargony word to say it's basically the same thing of everyone gets something as you level up at these different things.
Right.
So for us, we went like 3rd level, 6th level, 10th level, it's so on and so forth. Then we were like, okay, runes need to be different than spells, but we don't want them to be so different that you can't grasp your head around it. So
Sure.
so with spell levels, they have 9 spell levels. We then created a tier system of runes rather than level system. This is only 6 tiers versus the 9 tiers. And basically,
Got it.
we created an equivalent, being that 1st and 2nd level spells were equal to a 1st tier rune. Then 3rd and 4th, 2nd tier, so on and so forth.
Kind of condensing it all down.
Exactly. So that way
Got it.
you still have the ability to be super powerful in these different rights, but like you're not so focused on like, oh, it's a 9th level spell, I only have this much. And instead
Right.
of it being spell slots, it's very similar, but we call it runic mana points, which you then get a certain amount per tier level that you can then use that go into either using a prepare rune or using an improvised rune.
Gotcha.
And
Okay.
I'm sure we'll have plenty of time to talk about how this gets tricky and everything like that. But
Every new class is a learning experience. It is what it is.
exactly. And we wanted something similar to that of cantrips, but how do you make that without creating like a cost to it and making it familiar, right?
Sure.
So we created sigils, which are these new elements that we're talking about. We have 16 different elements from fire, water, earth, air, all that sort of jam.
Sure.
And each rune caster only starts with 3.
Okay.
You only get
So
3 to
three
choose
of these
from.
elements.
Exactly.
Got it. Got it.
And that was just so that people had to be selective, and it makes a character grow over time because you can have a minimum of 3 to start, maximum of 3 to start, and then by the end at like 20th level, you have 7 sigils available that you get to choose from.
Got it. Okay. So you're not getting all of them because I mean that would kind of throw off the idea of a character anyways. Like it doesn't feel special if you just have access to everything.
Exactly. So your character has to have some things that they're specializing in. And then obviously as they get older and as they get more experience, they're experience more magic, and therefore we created that ability to get grander ideas and bigger options as a player.
Absolutely.
As your character progresses as well. Then we decided, okay, now that we have all of that general idea, how are we even going to create like runes? Like, how do you create its own whole magic system? That's a really tough thing to do, and Nick and I figured
Yes.
that out really, really fast. In terms of, oh my god, this is a lot.
Yes.
So we really focused then onto the subclasses. The subclasses then became this thing of, okay, what's something that we would like to see? We created 4 subclasses. We created the Earliz, something that's like a Hexblade warrior, but instead of taking Hexblade just and re-skinning it, we, Nick and I love anime, as we said before, huge Jujutsu Kaisen fans. So we created a subclass that was basically like, okay, how do we create a class that can cast magic while keeping people like close to them? And and having these runes that allows them to be a combatant to be trifled with. So they basically have this ability to create domain expansions. That's not what we call them or anything like that, but we took inspiration from that, where it creates a domain of your own that keeps a creature within like 30 feet of you and they can't escape it. And you get like improved criticals and stuff like that. We have the kanji, which is creating having extra runes on the fly at your disposal, similar to that of like Gambit, being able to throw cards and like attach them to different people and affect people across the playing field.
Nice.
Things like the Wiccan. It's basically like our version of a druid, where they pull on what we call the bestials, their power. The bestials in our world, Cerulean, and on the continent of Ventilor, we have around like 12-ish of these creatures, and their whole kind of role in our world is they are physical manifestations of the power of each individual biome, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So for the desert, there's a big desert lizard called Amathion, which is a huge desert lizard that actually is made of yellow energy and looks like a thorny dragon, I believe is what it's called.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So we have stuff like that. We have Haldor, which is this cragged goat that is made of actual stone that is found within the mountains itself. Tenko, this golden fox that runs through the forests. Stuff like that.
Gotcha.
And then we created one last one, which is called the Incantemic. The Incantemic is basically this idea of there's always that dark magic, that dark sense that like everyone's like, oh, don't ever touch that. So we created something that is that, which they take the runes and they scrawl them into their skin with like blades and stuff like that.
Dang, okay.
And at a cost of it potentially harming them in the future. They have abilities where they can siphon blood from other people, and it gives them more mana points to actually cast spells and in their own right, and runes. And they also have things like our gut feeling, which is at 14th level, where basically a creature has to make a constitution saving throw or they suffer exhaustion levels. But in order to do that, the Incantemic has to expend health points. And we have an entire system that lays it out for the player there.
Kind of going off of the anime inspiration, kind of reminds me a little bit of Dead Man Wonderland.
Yes.
Where they have, they have like the blood powers and they can like turn them into weapons, but it hurts them.
Exactly. So like that was kind of the gist, is we see those all the time in popular fiction. So we were like, how do we make that in this sort of setting? And there you have it.
Yes, absolutely. That's awesome. That's so awesome. And my mind went right to it too. So it's like, this is all stuff that's gonna, like, people can pick this up. Ideally, like if they get the source material, they'll be like, oh, okay, this totally makes sense.
Exactly. And it's very much written so that's understood. We have had plenty of playtests and have really tried to refine the wordage kind of going on here.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But yeah, so we started with those subclasses, and then we went into creating the runes themselves. So we have to get to like, okay, how do you actually do this? So we created a bunch of different charts that show you exactly how to do it. We have 3 different types, 3 different like subscriptures within rune casting itself. you do not need to actually understand like how to read and write these different subscriptures. It's just a flavor thing, just for those of people at home who are like, oh my God, I can't even wrap my head around that. Basically, we boiled it down into three things. The overall thing is called Kelton, which is just the language of runes. And we have things like Callan, which is the schools of magic. So you can just identify, okay, abjuration. I want something that focuses on protecting people, conjuration, summoning things forth, so on and so forth.
Yep.
Zybin, which is the sigils, which are your elements. Okay, so like, let's say I want to use abjuration. Okay, I'm doing something to protect someone. Then let's say I'm using Zybin, my sigils. Let's say I use an earth sigil. Okay, so that's something that innately has the ability to protect people, to fortify people with abjuration. That's right in the same line. Then you have, let me make sure I have this here. Then you have Veneficum, or Beneficium. It just depends on how you want to pronounce it.
Sure.
But this is the words of power. And we created our own whole chart, and it's super laid out. It shows you per tier level. We have words like amplify, conjure, heal, that sort of stuff. And for each tier level, it tells you, hey, these are the words that you can use, right? So, so for example, one of the words is protect. Okay, so if I'm using Beneficium or Beneficum as my word of power, protect. I then use Zybin as my sigil, earth. Then I use Callan, schools of magic, being abjuration. Now, I can basically say, oh, I want to create a wall of earth around myself or a wall of earth around my friends to maybe try and take off some damage. Maybe it gives them advantage against a dexterity saving throw. Maybe it gives them +2 AC to an attack only for that round, or maybe it's a 1 minute thing that you then just place on someone and now they have like something similar to like mage armor, where now they have armor across them, and it's this actual bits and pieces of earth that are forming and circulating around them to take the hit. There's plenty of ways that you can reason with your DM as long as it's within the general idea of that. Another example, like let's get into something damage-based. So, schools of magic. I'm just going to choose evocation because that's normally something that attacks, right? Then so like, for each one of the elements, we detail what they're capable of doing. For example, fire, it has the ability to ignite any flammable objects. Like, that's that makes sense.
Yep.
Water, it has the ability to create illusions and cover. So like fog cloud, how that creates like illusions and stuff like that. That's its innate purpose. But I could do something like lightning, the ability to stun and magnetize objects, right? So let's say I use the School of Magic evocation, sigil being our element, lightning, and then let's use word of power. Word of power I'm looking at right now is strike. Super easy one, right? So basically I create a small little jolt of damage. But now you may be wondering, Haven, okay, I understand that, but how do you actually deal damage with the system? Right?
That's fair. Yeah.
So we created we have plenty of charts for people to very clearly see it. But we have this chart that says damage die increasing through tier level. So each element has a different level of dice at different tier levels. And that always stays the same for that tier level in that element.
Right.
For example, if we're talking about lightning, lightning's natural die type is a D8. So at first tier level, lightning gets 2d8. So let's say I'm just like, it's not the lightning bolt spell, but I'm just choosing, like, let's say I say Sparky Hands, and you just release forward a rune that has all of these stipulations with it. If you're casting it at a first tier level, you're going to do 2d8.
Got it.
Let's say you, instead of doing lightning, want to use Psychic. Psychic has a die type of d4. But instead of it being 2d8, because you're not using the d8s, it's 3d4 at a first tier level. Now, let's say you're tiering up, looking back at lightning. You start at 2d8 at first tier. Second tier, you go to 3d8. Third tier, 4. Fourth tier, 5, so on and so forth. And each one of them tends to go up. The D4 types, so something like Psychic, it goes from 3d4 at first tier to 5d4, so on and so forth, and it typically goes up by 2.
Got it.
So that way it's something that's comparable, but also is like it has smaller ability of damage, because something like Force and Psychic, they're going to be more for not damage-based things, like they can be, but they're not as powerful as something let's say Earth, Ether, or Necrotic. Earth, Ether, and Necrotic, so like that's space, death, and Earth itself. Those are powerful sigils themselves and elements themselves, so those get D12s.
Gotcha. Okay.
However, now we have an issue of, like, now this gets into, okay, as a player, when you are taking your sigils, are you choosing the damage-based runes, like the sigils, these elements that only deal damage? Or are you taking the ones that are more malleable and more versatile and don't deal as much damage, but give you more benefits of things like illusions, of things like...
Oh, okay.
You see what I mean? So, like...
Yeah.
We have... So, right now, I believe Lycan takes Vitality, so that's a D6. So that's our healing. She also takes Poison, which is a D6, and she takes Necrotic, which is a D12. So she has a sigil that deals a lot of damage, and then she has 2 sigils, one that's used for healing and one that's used for beguiling people. Like, so in this circumstance, Poison, let's say she has, it has the ability to incur sickness and an exhaustion. So like with that brainstem thing we were talking about, that's completely created by Sophia herself. She took those different things and was like, okay, bam, done. I want something that can give me poison abilities. I want something that can let me heal people. And I want something that can deal damage over time.
Right.
So she chose Necrotic, so on and so forth.
Very cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Because the words that are going to be associated with each one of these elements are going to open up the door to a lot of different abilities that might not just be damage. You know, you need all those utility spells.
Exactly.
Right? And so, yeah, okay, I totally see what you're saying. Some of the elements lean a little bit more towards pretty explicitly damage.
Yes.
Some lean a little bit more towards pretty explicit, the D4 ones.
Yes.
Do they do damage, but they also have a lot more versatility?
Yes. So it just depends on what you want them to actually be able to do in your game. That's
very cool.
That's just it. It's a malleable system for everyone to talk about and agree upon and be like, wait, is that the rules? Let's just quickly check that chart. Done. You don't need to think about it further.
Right, exactly. Absolutely. And the numbers are all there.
Yes.
It's pretty straightforward. So if you are doing something with damage, boom, there's the chart. What level are you casting it at? There you go.
Exactly.
All set.
Exactly.
So very cool. And then everything else is kind of a sort of a conversation with the DM, right?
Yes.
Like, this is kind of what I'm going for. Would this be something that's accessible?
Yeah.
And then the DM would say, yeah, absolutely. I think that fits.
And that's like one of my favorite parts personally is like the Runecaster it is a phenomenal class, but it can be an overpowered class if your DM is a yes man. Like, if your DM's like, yeah, that sounds awesome, you automatically kill the boss. Like, yeah, that becomes overpowered.
Yeah, exactly.
But
like, oh yeah, that basically works the same as a wish spell. So yeah, go for it.
Yes, but like it also allows for people who are more like rules lawyery as DMs to be like, okay, like, yes, that is within the confines, but that dive value is actually wrong here. This is why, or like that element actually can't do that specific thing.
Ah, okay.
Here's what it can do instead.
Right.
But
very cool.
And I will say, not to overcomplicate things, I know there's a lot of information for our viewers and everything going on. The only thing I will say is, like, we even added things such as sigil swaps, meaning you can change out elements between prepared runes to have more ability, but there's also some prepared runes that don't have that ability. So, like, let's say there's one that's specifically Earth, and it only is used by Earth. But there could be some that are like Force, Earth, and Radiance, and you can switch those out, and you flavor it based on that element.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. So, like, instead of a giant rock shooting out of the ground, you might switch it to maybe switch it to lightning. That seems kind of crazy, but we'll just go with it for the example. It's a beam of lightning shooting down, or a big giant bolt of lightning.
That is a great example. Exactly.
Okay, perfect. Yes. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. It's all up in here, what you can create with your mind and what your DM is okay with you doing.
Yes, absolutely. And then again, the numbers are there for when those kind of situations arise.
Exactly.
Very, very, very cool. That is an awesome class. And I,
Thank you.
again, love the diversity of it, love the ability to do so many things. Like basically, however you can string some words together that fit with what you've taken so far, the elements that you've claimed and so on and so forth.
Absolutely.
Like you could do just about anything,
Mm-hmm.
which is really cool. So again, obviously within the confines of whatever your
Yes, of
DM is
course.
willing to allow.
Of course.
But that's pretty normal for D&D.
Yes, exactly.
Awesome. Very cool. Okay, so we walked through like sort of what the class is, the steps that you guys took in order to kind of get to a fully functioning class.
Yes.
What was playtesting like? Like, did you guys have to run a bunch of different scenarios, or kind of how do you do that? Like, how do you playtest a TTRPG homebrew class?
Yeah, like anyone who's starting, we had no clue. We were like, okay, what is the right way to start this? What is the things that we actually cover? And we actually had, I think, about four to five different playtests of this. I DM'd once, then my co-DM Nick DM'd twice, I believe, and I think we both DM'd twice. The first time I did it, we had one person trying it out in a one-shot that we did. And each playtest was only a one-shot. It was just us testing these things out. And that was fine. The person that was there did a Warforged Irliz, who had this ability to keep people in, like, tethered to them in general areas. That first time actually was pretty easy. We started at 5th level, and it was something that was controllable. It was in an environment where I was DMing, so I knew all the different die types and everything like that. So it was super easy for that player to be like, hey, this is what I'm thinking of doing. Is this something that I can do within these realms? And I'm like, I look at the charts, bada bing, bada boom, you're done. Go for it.
Go for it. Awesome.
And that actually, our playtest was pretty smooth sailing on the first bit. But before we even actually got to playtesting, we had a lot of people. Nick and I were in college when we were making this. And we actually had a bunch of English major friends where we actually had them sit down and read through the whole thing a bunch of times to make sure that the wording made sense and that it actually made sense to a player understanding.
Okay, very cool.
So it wasn't just us being like, yeah, it's a cool thing. and
then having to explain it, because otherwise it's like almost impossible to sort of get the rundown for it for a person new to the Runecaster.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
So we had that as our general basis. Then we went to the second playthrough. The second playthrough, Nick led it. And we had, I think, 2 of us were Runecasters.
Very cool.
One of our players was an Incantemic, and one of our players was I want to say kanji. They had the ability to have these extra runes at the ready on their person. And this was an interesting game because there is a rune that basically allows you to create an illusionary wall. So like, let's say you're running in the heat of battle, or you're trying to escape from like someone in a chase scene, and you run to a dead end, and you turn around and you cast this rune, and this rune basically creates a wall that looks like it's been there the whole time. So like, you're hiding behind the wall and you can see through it, but the other person cannot. So it's
like a two-sided, or what is it called?
One-sided mirror.
Like a mirror thing. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, two-sided mirror. That's what it is.
Okay.
And like that was we're getting lost in that terminology. But
I know. It's like one of those mirrors, like like you see on cop shows.
Exactly.
When they're
Exactly. And so it was actually really interesting because we were in this Warforged steampunk world where we were trying to go in and assassinate this official. And this official was on the other side of this wall, and if we were to walk in through the door, there were like a bunch of guards waiting for us to walk in. So we didn't want to walk in through there. So our Incantemic was on the ready while we had our other Runecaster, the kanji, create this illusionary wall on the wall itself.
Interesting.
So basically what happened was the wall still looked the same, but we could look through one side while the other side couldn't see that there was a rune going on.
Very cool. Okay.
And it just so happened that our incantemic had that ability to, I think we were at like 14th level, and they were able to use the gut feeling that I talked about before, where basically it is based off of, basically how we have it is you have to target a creature that you can see for this to happen. And basically what you do is you concentrate on the creature's internal temperature and you make it rise. So they start to become sick and exhausted. And because we created this wall we could see through, this political official was sitting on his like own throne, and we had this person literally blow through they had so much health, and we had people who were healing them enough that they could get rid of all of their health and kill this person in one go because they had 6 levels of exhaustion in one go by expending, because it takes 25 points of necrotic damage to the person casting that. Per level
That's
of
the
exhaustion,
cost, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was upped because that used to actually be lower, and this is why we had to up this, because that person literally killed that person with that. Like, we were done with the one shot in I think 2 hours, because we got to that wall and it just annihilated this guy.
Right.
And like we were like, holy shit, we need to fix something.
This is an OP combination here. One guy heals the other guy who just slowly sucks out the life of the enemy.
Exactly. So like that was a huge moment for us where we're like, oh my God, did we create something overpowered? And yes, we did in that circumstance, but it just took small adjustments of tweaking it to like, okay, what level are you truly getting this? Because I think gut feeling originally was at 10th level, and we switched them, and we were like, okay, at 14th level, this makes a lot more sense. And like, so as an example, we have like an 18th level incantemic runecaster wishes to inflict all 6 levels of exhaustion on a creature. They must declare it beforehand. So if it fails or it succeeds, so like they still will lose 150 points of necrotic damage against themselves, even if the person succeeds. Like, so that's a huge thing. Like, are you willing to take the 150 points of health away from yourself and maybe auto die?
You might just die. Yeah, absolutely.
For that creature to fail on the save and die themselves, or succeed and not be affected in the slightest.
Yes, absolutely.
So,
oh my gosh.
So
wow.
It was a lot of that. We actually did not have to adjust a lot going on with the kanji, Wiccan, or our earliz. Those seem to be rather and that we figured that out through our 2 other ones. We had one where we did 20th level one shot where everyone multi-classed into Runecaster in another class. So we could see how people could abuse that and how crazy it could get. And so that actually didn't become overpowered, but it became very fascinating from a player's perspective. I was actually a player in that, and Nick DM'd it, and I did a multi-class of 10 level, I think something like 10 levels of Gunslinger and 10 levels of Runecaster. And we have this rune that basically gives you, as long as you have Vitality, it gives you Vitality shots. So basically, my character, before we even started the game, in his world would scrawl Vitality runes on his bullets, so he could shoot his allies and heal them with his gun.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so he was
that is so
he
cool.
was a sniper, and he would have a sniper and would be healing people across the battlefield while simultaneously shooting bad guys with his other incendiary bullets that he basically scribed fire runes on.
Oh, that is sick.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
Yeah, so it truly is based off of, it can get super overpowered and we've made it so that it can't, as long as your DM's keeping you to a T, right?
Sure.
But you get to do the fun that you've always wanted to do within a understandable level without it being way over the top.
Right.
And allowing other players to feel like you're not doing all the heavy work.
Oh, that's a fair point too. Yeah.
Because that is a thing, is like, honestly, we actually saw a lot of people wanted to play the Runecaster more. Even in our own podcast, we actually have a couple of our players starting to look toward multi-classing there because there's
Oh, okay.
so much capability and
Right.
versatility that it's almost like, why wouldn't you want to be a Runecaster within that? It's not
Yeah.
better than other classes, but I think a lot of people are very much drawn into the fact that, like D&D supposed to be, you get to customize everything.
Yes, absolutely.
So
As opposed to being locked into, I played Warlock for the first time not too long
Yeah.
ago, and it was just like, oh, I get like 2 spells that I can cast, period.
Yep.
For so long in the game. And so,
Yeah.
I could, I want to be able to do more.
Exactly. And we want to make sure that players can have a fun time
Mhm.
while staying within the confines that they need to.
Right.
Yeah.
Because if you start jumping outside of the rules, it's not fun anymore. It's not
Exactly.
fun for the other players who might
Yeah.
lose out on opportunity because you're just nuking every encounter. It's not fun for the DM who's trying to
Yes.
tell a fun story alongside of the players, and everything just easily gets solved by this one guy who does whatever,
Yes.
So I totally get that.
I would definitely say that's how our playtest went. A majority of
Okay.
them were just tweaking small things. There was that one big thing with gut feeling and just replacing it in its order to make sure that it made sense and that it wasn't overkill. But everything else kind of just like fell into our laps. Our players were very open with their criticism, and we took it in stride. We would have each person kind of fill out. We would create a Google form where basically they would go in and answer a bunch of questions that were all the same questions for each person, so we could see, okay, where is this thing? Like, and any additional comments that they had outside of those comments, we would ask them, like, hey, like, any other things that you're thinking of, please let us know. Like, what did you feel? Like, was it clunky? Was it too much decision? Like, what did you feel? Because we don't want to give people choice stunning, like, if that makes sense.
Yes,
Like,
absolutely.
oh my god, I have so much I can do. What can I even do with all this possibility?
Absolutely. And I would argue too that, when it comes down to it, there are going to be classes that some people lean more towards than
Yes.
others for this. So like people who don't want to improv as much might not look into some of the more
Absolutely.
like something, like this, but people that love to do that, people that love to like come up with things on the fly
Yes.
and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not downing anybody, any
Absolutely.
particular player for anything. You do what you enjoy. If you want to run around as a martial character and just swing a sword at
Hell
things,
yeah.
that's totally fine. Absolutely. If you're somebody that just really likes to come up with things on the fly and create crazy new scenarios and ideas, Runecaster's definitely something to check out.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
And it's something like with the earless, like I talked about before, it's something that you can do both. Like,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can have those fun zany ideas and get to do melee and keep
Yes.
your enemies like pressured the entire time.
Yes, absolutely. Well, so let me ask you, Haven, where could a person find, like, if a person was interested in checking out the Runecaster,
Yeah.
is that something that you guys have or plan to publish?
So actually, so Nick and I have been planning to publish this for a while. Currently,
Okay.
we are not going to be publishing it soon.
Okay.
But it is within our plans at some point to make a book or a supplemental that basically gets to talk about the world of Cerulean and Ventilor and our entire campaign, as well as
Yeah.
adding in the Runecaster itself with the different items we've even added in with that to like make it feel more of like a big world affected thing.
Absolutely.
So I sadly think the only way that people could find more information on that is by sitting down and listening to our podcast, which they totally can do.
I was going to say, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
I was just going to say, like, if you're somebody that wants to check out the Runecaster, follow Campaign
Thank you.
Casters, go listen to the podcast, hear it be played, because that's like
Yeah.
the best way to learn, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
and like in Sophia, she does an amazing job. I think she was
Yes,
awesome with her rune choices.
absolutely. And then, hey, that'll inspire some ideas, right?
Exactly.
And so from there, you can keep up with Campaign Casters, follow them on social.
Yeah.
And then obviously once you guys are ready to put that out there, you'll be in the right place to do that,
Yeah,
to see that.
It's actually great you mentioned that too. I will just say one thing regarding
Yeah.
our podcast with that. We actually do plan once this is released, we're gonna try and open up on our social medias polls and abilities to submit ideas for some cool runes, so
Oh.
that people can actually be a part of that making of it. And so keep an eye out for that if you're checking out any of our socials and stuff like that. If you want to be a part of creating more runes that can go into a book, like something like that.
That'd be really cool. That'd be awesome to be a part of. Yeah, be a part of like the community that's being created there. That would be awesome.
Absolutely. We are all about community and trying to bring in anyone we really can with us.
Yeah.
Like we want to bring
Yeah.
everyone up as we continue to work out this whole podcast thing.
Absolutely. It is a lot of work. I totally get it. You know, we actually we did it in one of the first episodes that we did of this. I talked to Hartley Yosa, who was putting together his own sort of one-page TTRPG that was based entirely around wizards. And I know he had talked about too the idea of creating just this a mass of spells specifically for his system.
Yes.
So yeah, definitely you know, if you have ideas, send them over to the campaign casters, because I know how much like that can be daunting.
Yes.
To come up with so many different ideas.
Yes, it is.
without like jumping into D&D and just scrolling through the spell book and being like, all right, basically this and
Yes,
this. And, you know,
exactly.
you want to come out with new ideas and interesting new capabilities.
Yeah, we don't want to
So,
stay stagnant. We always want to be creating.
absolutely. Absolutely. And of course, the beauty of it, the Runecaster, is that you're not limited to anything that would come out that you
Exactly.
guys publish. You can come up with anything.
Exactly.
You can come up with all sorts
It's
of possibilities.
always changing to whatever way you want to play.
Absolutely. So last question I got before we go into our intramurals. And of course, for those that are curious, I'm going to obviously have links to Campaign Casters, their podcast, as well as socials in the description. So definitely scroll down and check that out. But my last question to you, Haven, before we jump into the intramurals, is anyone out there who's trying to make their own homebrew class? Like I said, Cameron, one of the guys from our podcast, he's working on one right now. What kind of advice would you give to somebody who's trying to do that?
Yeah. I think I say it a lot whenever I talk about any of this stuff in general. It's just take the things you love from the things you love and find a way to make it playable.
Absolutely.
Like
Very cool.
it is as long as you care about it and it's something that makes you happy and it's something that you can like just sit down and go, okay, this is a cool concept. Now, how can I look at these rules? Like, and don't be afraid to borrow for a second and go, okay, this is what works. Look at what works and why people like it, and then take your idea and mesh it with those things.
Yeah.
It's okay to look at that and go, okay, what works? Then take bits and pieces and then make your own thing with that general foundation.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. Be inspired by something and let that inspiration kind of guide you through the process.
Exactly.
I love it. Awesome. Awesome. Well, we're going to jump over to our intramural section, so stay tuned for that.
Hell yeah.
So the idea that we came up with for our intramurals, because you know we like to play some sort of improv game that revolves around whatever the theme of the episode is. So today I came up with an idea. It's a really just basic concept called custom class quick pitch. And the idea is that it's kind of based off of the Runecaster. You guys had some things that inspired you, the Owl House and, you know, why am I
Full
playing?
Metal Alchemist.
Full Metal Alchemist. There we go. Gosh. And I mean, you even mentioned like Avatar: The Last Air. That was the one that kept coming to mind. And I was like, wait, there's a different one. I got to get to that one.
No,
first.
I get it.
But,
You're all good.
yeah. So we're going to kind of take some bits and pieces from different topics. And from those, we're going to let those kind of inspire a class just an idea. Obviously, we're not making the
Yes,
full,
oh my God, yeah.
all the way through level 20. We're not going to do that right here, right now for the next like 8 hours of, your
Done.
time.
I'm already done.
Signed up. We're going to take, we're just going to like take the flavors that we're getting out of these characters. We're going to take characters, magic items, and personality quirks. And we're going to take some flavors from those things and we're going to turn them into, I don't know, I thought maybe we could do like 3 classes each. So
I'm down for that.
Awesome, sweet. So Haven, I got a question for you.
Yes.
I have a total of 10 from each of those categories, and I figured the best way to split them up would be, say, there's the first 5, the second 5, and then go through each category for each of those. So do you want me to give you, for characters, do you want the first 5 or the second 5?
Oh, I'll go second 5. Second 5 feels
Second
good.
5? Okay, sounds good. For magic items, do you want first 5 or second 5?
First 5.
First 5, okay, sweet. And then for the personality quirks, do you want the first 5 or second 5?
Let's go second.
Second 5, okay, sweet, okay.
Very bizarre. Okay, I'm reading them.
So basically, one class at a time. Feel free to take a character, a magic item, and a personality quirk, and come up with just a general concept for what a class might look like. And we'll go through like what everybody chose, but there's some unique ones in there for sure.
So we're starting with one character first, right?
Yeah, we can start with it, or you can take one from each of the categories to help kind of inspire like the direction of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely.
Okay. These are some fun ones.
I know there's there's some interesting ones in there for sure.
Oh, I think I have it. I think I have
got one already?
I think I have one.
Okay, hit me with it.
Okay, so currently I'll tell you the inspirations and then I'll kind of go what the class kind of would be. So I'm a big SpongeBob fan, so I'll take SpongeBob SquarePants. Then I'm taking a sentient over-dramatic cloak. Then I'm taking has an imaginary friend who gives surprisingly good or terrible advice. So basically, what I would say is, I don't know what to call this class, so excuse me for not having a name for it. But basically, I'm picturing how SpongeBob in the end of the first SpongeBob movie has his purple cloak and his cone hat. And basically, he can summon forth a familiar at 3rd level, which is Patrick Star, which at every single time you bring him in, you basically get to roll a d6 or a d10, or maybe even a d20, and he gives you, depending on your role, you allot a actual chart that says, like, for 1, he tells you this advice, and it gives you this general benefit. So, like, example, like, he could be like, I don't know, let's just pick up the whole town and move it over. So whenever you bring forth Patrick as your familiar, he doesn't actually do anything himself, but now you like gain the SpongeBob like fancy arms that are like super ripped, and you're able to like get additional like advantage in a strength ability score at a 3rd level. And as you like, let's say at like 10th level, whenever it can actually expand the amount in which his list continues to get bigger, or the actual choices increase in their ability and proficiency. And the cloak itself would then, at like 6th level, you can choose to go up in the air and perform like a beguiling dance that is playing something like, what's the name of... Goofy Goober Rock from the end of the movie, where he basically just slams
like the best song ever.
Yeah, exactly. And like in a 10-foot radius, it basically charms people if they fail a charisma saving throw based off of your whatever your modifier is. I guess in this circumstance, it would be charisma.
Sure, absolutely. Oh, wow. Okay. The SpongeBob class.
Yeah.
I love
I was gonna say,
much.
I think you definitely could do a SpongeBob class. I think that could
100%.
And like I could even get behind like each different subclass would be not just Patrick, like it's a different familiar from his like stuff. So it would be like Patrick has his own like bunch of stupid ideas, and then like you have oh my gosh, you have Mr. Krabs coming in where it's all greed-based ideas.
Yes.
So, oh my god, you could make like a subclasses of the 7 deadly sins and each one is one that goes based off of a separate character from SpongeBob.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah,
Oh man, Squidward comes in and he's got like a wrath thing
that's
going
what
on.
like something like that. I'm super down.
Dude, that's so good.
Yeah.
I love that Squidward would fit so well with sort of like a bardic mix, like a what is the bard thing? I can't even think of it, which is embarrassing.
Bardic
where he
inspiration?
criticizes.
Close. Vicious mockery. Yes.
Vicious mockery, yes. Where he's just like, "You're terrible at clarinet."
Exactly. Like I would,
Just
I would love
offloading.
that. That.
Oh, that's good.
SpongeBob class for days. I could get behind
SpongeBob class. We're gonna work on it. We're gonna publish it. It's gonna be amazing.
It's there.
I love it. I think it'd be hilarious. I know that pretty much any of the players in our group, they just anything comedic, they'll go for it.
Yeah.
And so this would 100%. And I think they're all big SpongeBob fans as well. So this is like top tier.
I was gonna say it's dangerous. You brought a comedian onto your.
Yeah. Well, hey, it's actually funny that you say that because the one I came up with, I went with Homer Simpson. For the magic item, I went with inappropriate puns hat. So a hat that like is constantly saying inappropriate puns at inopportune moments is kind of the premise that I came up with. And then for personality quirks, always carries a disproportionately large number of rubber ducks.
Yes.
I'm imagining, and maybe this is technically a bit more of a bardic subclass technically, but like a comedian class.
Yes.
Everything's just based on comedy. The most like ridiculous things you can do. It's giving there's a humor side to it where it's giving buffs to the rest of the party because they're getting a kick out of whatever it is you're doing during the battle, no less.
Yes.
And then on the other hand, there's sort of this attacks with a vicious mockery type thing where you're making fun of them to the point where you even call them out. Like some comedians will like do the audience work.
Yes.
Where they'll point at some guy and they'll just start making the crowd work, or like they're just making fun of some dude in the audience.
I was gonna say,
and it's sort of that same concept.
You could even go further with that. Like I was gonna say, don't even limit yourself to just bard, because I think you could make your own class and then make each subclass a different brand of comedy. So then you have dry comedy, you have like crude comedy, satire, all of that stuff, and each one.
The rubber ducks definitely lends to prop comedy. Gotta have a prop comedy.
Gotta.
Guy that just pulls out a rubber hammer.
One carrot top in there and you're good.
That's right. Oh, dude, that's exactly how someone would pitch that to me, is be like, oh yeah, so I'm just a human male and I've got like a crazy big puffy red hair.
Hell yeah.
And I was like, oh, I know what you're doing.
It's perfect. You can never go wrong.
I mean, hey, who doesn't love the idea of a just literally a comedy based class?
Oh, exactly. I would take that anytime.
Oh, anytime. Absolutely.
Okay. I think I have. Oh, okay. I'm down for this one. Okay. So what I'm thinking. So I have. So for characters, I have Indiana Jones. I have
nice. Okay.
A bag of holding that occasionally spits out live squirrels, and refuses to use doors, preferring to climb through windows. Okay. And basically, what I'm thinking is it could like all of, I mean, I think a lot of these could go into subclass territory, but I think if we're talking subclass territory, you could make a like Indiana Jones inspired sort of subclass where it's an adventurer that always is looking to like replace like items and stuff like that. So he has this bag of squirrels and basically puts squirrels down wherever he goes and takes the different objects. So basically like the whole thing is you get advantage on all sleight of hand checks, almost like fast hands. Yes. But like the trick is like every time you're like ever in combat, you can like swap out an enemy's weapon for a squirrel without them seeing it, and like have like sleight of hand checks versus their passive perceptions and stuff like that. And it's constantly like you are just a master of deception in terms of like magic tricks, where you can just like be like, see your weapon, it's gone now, and now they have
and now it's a squirrel.
And now it's a squirrel. Exactly. Like I think that would be a great rogue subclass for sure.
Oh, I love that.
I also like with that ability, that thing of like refusing to use doors, like just make it a full blown like they always have a grappling hook or something like that, so they're able to reel themselves up walls and climb up surfaces, even if there's nowhere for it to latch onto. So it looks like it's just like we're talking prop comedy. They're able to like lash it up and then just climb on walls just without separate things. So like that's just a passive like third level ability where they just flavor it like they have a grappling hook or something. Or a whip, and are able to climb up walls at all times.
Nice. Okay.
Well, simultaneously.
Kind of like, what does that spell? Rope trick or whatever?
Yeah, rope trick or spider climb. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what.
Okay, I love it.
That's what I'm thinking. General idea.
Sneaking around, climbing up walls.
I was
just throwing squirrels.
I was gonna say the perfect concept.
Yeah, I love it. One of the guys in our campaign right now has what is it? It's a bag of or a sack of furry something or something along those lines.
Oh, it's the one where you like throw creatures out of it.
Yes.
Yes.
So this sounds he loves doing it. That's like his main move is he'll just any given encounter he reaches in the bag. He's like, well, let's see how this will help.
Absolutely.
And throws a ball
bag
of fur
tricks.
out.
Bag of tricks.
Bag of tricks. Thank you. Yes. Except this one's a bag of squirrels. It's always going to be squirrels.
Exactly. And I'll take that any day. Squirrels
That's right,
can do a lot.
because you know what you're gonna get.
I was gonna say, honestly, I could even picture myself making a class based off of Kronk from Emperor's New Groove, and like his whole shtick is like he just has a bunch of squirrels that he like he goes squeakity squeak squeak squeak
squeak and squeak squeaker.
Exactly.
That's so good. That'd be awesome.
Perfect.
Oh, dude. Oh, and then of course that has to be in there too. Is like one of your class features, like at the beginning of this getting this class, is that you have the language to speak explicitly to squirrels.
Exactly. I'm so down.
I love that.
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay. Man, now we're making a lot of tough decisions between some of these class ideas that we've got.
I know. Gotta start cutting down. It's tough.
I know. I know. All right. I'll go in with another one. This one's a little bit more chill, I think.
Yeah.
So maybe not as funny, but
yeah, go for it.
I think there's still some possibility here. So Groot is my character from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yes.
We all love our tree man.
Hell yeah.
What is it? The magic item is a teapot that brews leaves with flavors corresponding to the drinker's current emotion.
That is awesome.
I'm going to play around with that a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I went with the compulsively organizes everything by color, even during combat.
Nice.
So I'm imagining this is a class, and it's not exclusive to, what am I thinking of? Like if you were playing any kind of a plant-based species or race or whatever.
Absolutely.
But it's kind of maybe a druid subclass where you innately like grow leaves out of your hair or off your body, which is kind of freaky, but it's normal because this is your class. This is what you've committed to.
Welcome to D&D.
Yeah, exactly. This is fantasy, guys. Anything can happen.
Exactly.
I love the idea that so you grow leaves out of you and then you can like throw those in. I have always loved the idea of playing like a chef-based class.
Yeah.
I've tried one. It was fun. It was interesting. I think it was through like a cleric, which I thought was bizarre. I was expecting like a bard or something.
Yeah.
But this would be a druid version of that, where you're constantly brewing things, almost a little bit like the artificer class, how they can like make items and potions and things like that, once every long rest or whatever the case. This one makes different teas that have different effects. It could be it boosts you, it lets you fly. It could be it turns you invisible. It could be all these different things.
Absolutely.
Based on these different leaves. Yeah. And they're all like different colors, which is kind of where the organizes by colors.
I was going to say, I'm curious if you could even make it like, and you could make it either, like you're saying, a druid subclass or its own class entirely by making it based off of reading tea leaves, kind of like how they do in a bunch of different cultures. And make like the main function of it to like identify like how I think there's a druid subclass that has the wheel or woe thing. I think it's Circle of Stars, where like you can roll and like the DM tells you whether something good or bad's coming forward. I think that might be a spell. But like make it based off of that, where they're almost like a prophet that uses that and then can adjust the future with their leaves. Because that's
cool.
where you take all those ideas that you were saying and like put it into its own like abilities that are improving your future.
Right. Oh, that's cool. That's a
Yeah,
cool idea. Yeah, like you're not limited to what's coming.
exactly.
Use your abilities to change
Yeah,
and make it
that's a
through.
really good idea, dude.
I like it. I like it. Sweet.
Yeah,
Okay. Very
I
cool.
think I have. Let me look at my last personality quirk because I
Mm-hmm.
think I have the other two.
Okay.
These are tough. These.
I know. If you need to adjust them at all, feel free.
Oh no, you're okay. Okay. I think I have one because
Okay.
again, I'm somebody who goes for the bit, and I feel like this
Yeah.
is hilarious. Gordon Ramsay is my character. I'm
All right.
going with a magical monocle that reveals everyone's deepest, most embarrassing fear.
Oh boy.
And then I'm going to say is convinced they are secretly a legendary hero / villain, but from a bygone era, which is basically
Okay.
just Gordon Ramsay himself. So, so what I'm thinking is, like you were saying, having a chef class.
Yes.
What I'm going for is basically his whole kind of thing is he creates food that each subclass is a different type of chef. So like you have a pastry side, you have a dessert specific, you have more of a grill master, you have all of these things. And then what you can do is this sort of like monocle thing that it's talking about, they make it basically a Michelin star reader that if somebody like you could basically analyze a creature almost like how the Cobalt Soul from Matthew Mercer Critical Role's Monk class does, where they basically analyze a creature. You can analyze a creature, but you can actually, instead of just analyzing it, you don't get to analyze everything. You choose like one thing, and you can make that advantage they have a disadvantage. So like you reverse it by like cooking certain foods that makes them beguiled in a certain different direction.
Okay.
Or like, you see what I mean? Like, or like basically like somebody starts creating like a pot of like food and then they just splash it on a guy like randomly halfway through and they're like, now you have no strength and you have the opposite of what you had before. So if the person was like a meatball, they're now like, they're like faster or something like that.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. And you could do that both ways?
Yeah, so like you could increase them in one direction or you could debuff them in one direction. Like help your allies debuff another group by like cooking with like grill master tools and like specifically for that one, like everyone in your party, as long as they're in like a 20-foot radius, gets like a +1 to saving throws because they get the smell of barbecue in their general area, stuff like that.
Oh man, this is just it gives an aura of the scent, this delicious scent. I love that.
The pastry chef basically has like a healing ability that if you're in the general area, they can spend their turn applying a pastry into your mouth and you heal points based off of that. Like there's plenty I think you can do with that.
I love that. Again, this is the perfect like chef class.
Exactly.
I love that. And I'd be screaming at everybody, where's the lime sauce the whole time?
Exactly. It's raw.
It's raw. Look at you can see. Yeah.
It's perfect.
My wife and I have been watching a lot of Kitchen Nightmares.
I love Kitchen Nightmares.
Totally get it. It's like spot on, perfect Gordon Ramsay class.
Oh, yeah.
So. All right. Last one I've got is so I had Mary Poppins.
Oh, yeah.
Cursed Teddy Bear.
Nice.
It says overly affectionate teddy bear that grants small boons. And then for the quirk, the personality quirk, I have an uncontrollable urge to correct grammar and pronunciation. This class is simply titled The Nanny. And it is entirely based around the idea. I think it's kind of leans towards a buffing class. Once again, I mean, those are, I don't know, it just kind of makes sense that buff / debuff. She's going around, she's helping the allies to giving them lessons basically, which increase their stats, give them advantage, give them resistance, even stuff like that.
I like it.
And then on the other hand, again, kind of comes back to that vicious mockery idea where an enemy might miss one of the other player characters, and she'll like slam them with this insult of like, I've never been so disappointed or something like that. Like these very like posh kind of insult.
Have an ability in there that's like basically you're consulting their parents.
Oh no! Like she can like spectrally summon your parents.
Exactly,
To,
like put you in the corner of shame, put you in timeout. That would be
Oh,
perfect.
timeout would be a really cool name for one of the features
Yeah,
too.
or like,
I love
or
that.
pull something from oh, what's her freaking name? Oh, is that who you pulled? What's the person? What's the character you pulled?
Mary
Yeah,
Poppins.
I was gonna say.
There's also like Nanny McPhee too. Is
Yeah,
like
I was thinking
almost a
Nanny
duplicate.
McPhee, but I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
also thinking of Mary Poppins' Spoonful of Sugar. That would be the name of one of
Yeah.
like the things.
Oh yes,
Like I
absolutely.
think there's plenty to go around with those.
100%. And then with the teddy bear idea, I think this was I think there was a character in one of the Final Fantasy games
I haven't
where
played
she like had I haven't really either.
Yeah.
I remember watching like my nephew, I think, played them.
Yeah.
And there was like there's this like little girl that you can get as part of your party, and she just has like a teddy bear
Yeah.
that's like alive and it will do the attacking for you. So I like to think that the character, like you playing the Mary Poppins class,
Yes.
the nanny,
Yes.
you are kind of more focused on the buff debuff stuff, but you can summon these like spectral toys.
That's awesome.
And they will do attacks for
like
you.
a like the artificer subclass, the one that creates like the dog, the war dog.
Yes.
That would be cool.
Yes. Or like in Dice Thrones, I don't know if you ever played that. It's just like a board game.
Yeah.
Or a dice game, I guess, technically. But I digress. They came out with a character where they did a Santa, and then they did Krampus, and Krampus also kind of has like these little toys that you can use to gain abilities and stuff like that. So yeah, I actually really like that idea, just even by itself.
Yeah, I was gonna say I actually really like the idea of whenever you were talking about whenever you introduced the teddy bear idea, having a teddy bear as your patron would be crazy. As your warlock patron,
spectral teddy bear in the sky.
And it's like that's the name of it, is like the teddy bear, but like the majority of the abilities you get is of friendship and like love and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or like,
and I love that it has like a really deep, slow voice too. So it's like, good job.
And you could call all of your attacks the bear hug, where you just squeeze the shit out of people. Like that would be awesome.
Oh man, that would be epic. Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, for those of you that are listening, if any of you do actually go through these ideas and make like a full version,
please let us know.
Please tag us.
Absolutely.
I want to see that so bad. I probably will play it too. In fact, I'll do that. I'll make that commitment. I will play it if you make it.
I will say hands down, if somebody makes any of these, I will do a whole one shot.
Yes.
Based off of them.
Just based around the idea.
Yes, please.
I love that.
Absolutely.
I might toy around with it myself. Definitely a couple of these were fantastic. So, but whatever the case, Haven, thank you so much for being on Session Zero University. Really appreciate it. Again, for those of you that are listening, please go check out Campaign Casters. Follow them. Subscribe wherever it is that you get your podcasts, and of course on socials, because you don't want to miss out on everything that they're doing. And again, the future possibility of Runecasters getting released, which I definitely want to check out. So yes, definitely do that, because they are fantastic. And Haven, thank you so much for taking the time to be here.
Thank you so much, Skylar. I really appreciated it.
We'll see you guys next time on Session Zero University.
See you next time.
Thank you so much for joining us for today's class. We hope you gained some new knowledge and ideas from our incredibly knowledgeable professors, which you can take with you to your table and implement into your games and sessions. If you enjoy what we're developing here at Session Zero University, then be sure to check out our lessons in practice by checking out various actual play episodes. We have tested and recorded a variety of games, systems, stories, and themes for your enjoyment, from Dungeons & Dragons to Powered by the Apocalypse to Kids on Bikes and more. Be sure to follow and subscribe to the Session Zero Heroes podcast so you don't miss out on any of our future TTRPG content. Our show is available everywhere podcasts can be found, from Spotify to Apple Podcasts to YouTube, so there are plenty of places that you can follow and listen from. We encourage you to check us out on social media as well, whether you're prevalent on Facebook, X, Instagram, Blue Sky, or Discord. We're there, and we'd love for you to join our community. And if you're willing, we would truly appreciate you dropping a review on whatever platform you're listening to if it allows you to do so. Your feedback means a lot and helps others to discover our show. Thank you so much, and we'll see you for your next class at Session Zero University, run by the Session Zero Heroes podcast.